Welcome back to Blender for Blogs, where we are using Blender to edit videos for our blogs. I'm Justin, you know where to find me, and we just finished our motion graphic here, which we did in the last video. And so today what we're going to do is take video footage from our phone and shrink it down into a picture-in-picture to make it look something like this. Footage of your summer vacation. So you'll learn how to cut away to another video like this, and then shrink it down into a picture-in-picture like this, in case you want to show two things at once. Okay, so let's get crack-a-lackin'. First of all, what I want to show you is that I've cleaned things up a bit here. You can see I'm on 0903 as far as my save iterations. You don't have to be here, but I do a lot of like practicing and testing of things, so that's where I am now. Also here in the scenes, you can see I've cleaned this up a bit. I've got the blend 1, 2, and 3 from just how we started. So this is kind of early on, and then this is where we're at now. And then blend 3 will come in a minute here. But then we also have our, our original cuts, cut 1 and cut 2, and then of course our original video and so on. Okay, so what I want to do is actually start with our markings. So if we go here, we can see this is what we did a while back to just kind of plan out what we're going to be doing in the future. And so you can see what we've done so far. We've got the original footage, we've got our seashore sound effects, and our beach background. We've got our text, our pictures, bullet list animation, and all of that stuff. Again, this is just a really rough block, just so that we can kind of plan to see what are the kind of things we want to achieve in our video. So here's our motion graphic, which we just got finished with, and next is our summer footage and our video shrink. So it's gonna last approximately, well, it's gonna be from, let's see, where is our, I'm gonna hit 0 down here to go to our frame. So frame 866 to about 2310. Now, this might be slightly different because we've already done some editing in our different scene, but that's just the kind of the rough frame range that we'll be working with. And then you can see we've got, going forward, we've got screencast, where we're going to show like PowerPoint presentation, Google Slides, and all of that stuff on our screen where we're recording our screen. We've also got another screencast and screencast here. Then we've got a cut zoom here, which shouldn't take too long. And then after that, really, it's just adding pictures. So we've got a picture here, and a picture here. So we're looking good as far as the end of the series. I'm going to try to finish it within 4 or 5 videos in the next couple weeks. Hopefully get it done so we can move on to some other things. And then we also have some outtakes. I want to do some outtakes where we show, if you remember when we did our cut 1, we put all of the stuff that we didn't want up here, and we had the outtakes there. Now you can see it's black right now because, well, it's hidden. But even this one is black because I think I did some name changes with some folders, so I'll have to find those eventually there. But okay, so let's go to our blend 3 now. So this is exactly the same as blend 2, except what I've done is I've cut our basically workload in half. Well, there was a natural cut from the last time we did our GIF file. And then what I did was, as I selected everything over here and I locked it, and the way you can do that is make sure your timeline cursor is on the right of everything here. Hit Shift left bracket, or again, down here, we can go to select all strips to the left. And then, let's see, I'm just gonna do that and then that. Oh, yeah, unhide them. So this is what it looked like before. I'm selected all of them, and if I hit Shift, no, we want to hide them first. So I hit H to hide, and then I'll hit Shift L to lock. Now, what that does, you can see up here, if I select one of these, actually, let me select one of these like this, and then Shift left bracket again to select all of them. So we've got one that's the active strip, and you can see over here it's locked. Now if I decide that I want to unlock it by clicking that, it's only going to unlock the active strip. So that means I have to click on each one of them and unlock it if I do it that way. So in order to unlock all of them at the same time, make sure again you select all of them, Shift left bracket, with your timeline cursor over on the right of everything you want to select. And then Shift-Alt-L will unlock everything. And then you can do your double H to unhide if you want, or Alt-H, whichever shortcut key you use to do that. So anyway, Shift-L to lock. Okay, so now we don't, and what lock does basically is I can't move these. So I can't accidentally select something and move it and get it out of sync. Okay, so this is what we'll be doing today. I've already got it set up to kind of show you. So I imported this little roller coaster scene from a couple of years ago, actually, 2.5 years ago. I was at Branson, and yeah, I just recorded this on my phone. And so let me kind of break down what's going on here, and then I'll build it from scratch, show you what I do. So you can see we have our audio, and then a meta strip, and then a transform strip, and then a picture. So our audio is obviously the audio of the video, and the video is inside here. If I hit tab, go in there, and then that's with our speed control, because we had to adjust the video to match the audio because of the frames per second, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Tab, again, goes out of that meta strip, so you hit tab to go in and out of meta strips. And the transform is the shrink. So if I go here where it starts to shrink, you see it's kind of going right there. Go in our graph editor here and hit 0 to hone in on our timeline cursor. And you can see here are keyframes for this, this shrink. And then here you have the just a picture that I overlaid that I made in Google Slides, of course, that just kind of funny, pointing out things that are obvious. I just thought that was funny. Okay, so let me show you how I did all of this and why. So what I'm going to do is I've created a separate scene here, video shrink. Okay, and then I'm going to save it as another iteration before we start. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is import our video footage. Add in our movie, Shift-A. Okay, grab that, move that up. And of course, I like to put the video file on, or the video strip on top of the audio. Grab that, move that back down. Okay, then what I'm going to do is Shift-H, which hides everything else other than what we have selected. So make sure you have these two selected. You can Shift-H, just so we can kind of get the footage we want here, cut that down without anything else getting in the way. If you look here, you can see our video strip is longer than our audio strip. Let's draw that waveform here. And the reason for this is because our frame rate is 23.98 frames per second in our video file here, or editing file, and the phone was a different frame per second. So the audio will always match the frames per second you have here. So if I changed this, I'm not going to, because then it's going to mess everything else up that I have. But if I changed it, then you would see this audio strip growing or shrinking. So what we want to do is we want to match this audio strip with the video strip. To do that, we just add a speed control. So Shift-A, effect strip, and speed control. And if you've seen my snow overlay video, I talked a little bit about how to do this as well. So now we have a speed control here, and if you go to effect strip over here in the sidebar, you can see that stretch to input strip length is checked, and you want to keep that checked. If you don't check that, then you're going to have to do multiplication and all of that good stuff. And if you want to do that to be accurate, go for it. I don't know how to do that very well, so I like to do it visually. So I'm just going to do stretch to input strip length, and what that does is if I come in here and I grab this strip and G and move it back and hit Control, just to snap that right to the end there. Now my video footage is matching my audio. Now if I didn't do that, so let's just undo that here, then the audio would play faster than the video, and you would see it, especially if you could see some people talking. Now this is just a roller coaster, so you wouldn't really probably catch it here. but I want to make sure everything is synced up just right. So grab and control and move that back there. So now the problem with this is now that I've used the speed control, I can't do any sort of cuts in our footage because what it's going to do is just Blender just messes up that timing. And so if I cut, I could, I can cut, but once I do that, it doesn't do what you would think or what you would expect. And I don't like that. So I'm going to undo that. And a couple tips here for, come on, what in the world? There we go. Okay. When you hit undo, it undoes the last tiny thing. So if you move the timeline cursor, it moves it back for the undo. So yeah, just watch out for that. But anyway, when you add a speed control, remember this, it is best to add it to the whole footage first, the uncut footage, before you edit it at all. So before you cut it, before you change the size, because it's just going to mess up the timing. If you're trying to add speed control to things that you've cut already, then you might have a harder time. You might have to do a hard cut. But I'm not entirely sure, and it gets a little hairy. So the biggest point here is add the speed control to the full video. And so if you want to cut it then after that, then this is what I did, is I just selected the video footage and the speed control, Control G to make it into a meta strip. So I can cut these and then I can cut the audio with it. Now the reason I left the audio out here is because if I want to quick hide the audio, or if I want to change the volume or do anything with that audio, I don't have to come here, tab, go in here, change it, tab to go out. It's just a lot faster that way. Okay, so now let's find the area of the footage that I want. And that's going to be right where it comes around the bend here. Yeah, right about here. Okay, so I'm just going to select these two here and Shift S. And then I think I had this on 1930. So I want to keep that there. Select those two, Shift S to snap those right over there. Zoom in here and yeah, so that's where we can see what we have. Now this audio, if I play it, that is really stinking loud. I don't want it that loud. And I think what I worked with earlier was 0.03 was good for that when you have the other audio here, talking and stuff. And I don't know where that audio went. So I'm going to select everything. Unhide.
Picture like this.
Oh. Well, that's weird. I don't see that audio, but I can hear it.
In case you want to show two.
Oh, Blender. So let's undraw that. Let's try to draw that again. Okay, let's do strip, reload strips. No, nothing. Okay, so let's save that. I'm gonna open it again. I'm gonna close Blender and open. I'll be right back. Boop. Okay, and I'm back, and I don't know what went wrong there, but I didn't see the waveform, so I just restarted, and yeah, there you go. Blender bug, don't know. Anyway, going back here, we've got this volume down at 3 or 0.03.
Like this.
So you can kind of hear it over my talking, but it doesn't drown out my talking. So now we want to shrink it. And to do this, it's just a little bit of animation, which we have been doing quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is make sure this meta strip is selected. Shift A, add an effect strip, transform. And then I'm going to come over here to uniform scale, check that, so that we don't have to do it on the X and the Y separately. And you can see here, we've got black, so that means we need to change our blend mode to overdrop. So it's overlaying on our image sequence there. And then basically what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to position it where I like it. So just moving these so we got the position and the uniform scale. I just want to use the X to bring it over a little bit and then bring this down. So I think I had it about 0.45. And basically that's what I do when I'm doing adjusting of anything as far as position or scale, or any of these sliders that you can use. What I'll do is I'll just slide it to where I think I kind of like it, and then I'll take a look at the number and I'll either round it up or down. So here it'd be 22. That works just fine, and I think that's good there. So 22 and 45 will work just fine for what we have. If they don't, we can always adjust them later. So let's see where we want this to finally end up. So I'm going to hide this audio so we can hear. I'm going to use this audio as a guide. So basically, right when I say like this.
And then shrink it down into a picture-in-picture like this. Picture-in-picture like this.
Okay, so I think it's about right here. And you can see my timeline cursor is going really slow and it's really choppy. And I believe that's because, well, one, I have, footage from my phone, which doesn't match any of the other footage. But then I also have a meta strip, I have a speed control, and I have a transform here. So what I'm going to do actually is hide both of these for now. And then it should, let's refresh sequencer here.
Picture like this.
Yeah, so now that's a little bit more accurate. It doesn't have to calculate all of that other information. So now another tip is if you go to playback down here in your timeline, so just make sure that that's the timeline and you'll see that playback, and then if you click audio scrubbing, then you can scrub, instead of playing it, you can hear the audio still. And this is really good for lining things up if you need to line things up. So yeah, so this is where I say like this, right here, and that's where I want it. In fact, I want it before I say this, like this. Actually, right when I say the second picture, I think. Right here. I think that's where I want it to stop. Okay, so same thing down here. This is where my timeline cursor is right now, 2133. I'm just going to change that to 2135 because I think that'll be fine like that, and it's a nice number there. Come back up here to our transform, select our transform, and unhide it. And then come over to our scale, and then hit I, and then over our position, hit I as well. So we have two keyframes, one over our scale, one over our X position. That's where I want those. And then we're going to find out when we want this to start shrinking. So let's go backwards here. I'm going to hide this again so we can use the timing there.
And then shrink it down into a picture.
So I think right before I say and then, that's when we'll start it. Okay, so basically this is going to be at 0. This is going to be at 1. And I and I. And the reason we don't see it is because I still have it hidden. So unhide that. So there we go. And now if I scrub, there we go. It is moving there. And you can see our graph is showing that right here. Now I'm going to actually shut off audio scrubbing because it actually makes things fairly glitchy, which could have had something to do with the glitch I had earlier with my audio. And I'm just going to refresh the sequencer there.
And then shrink it down into a picture-in-picture like this, in case you want to show two things.
Okay, so now that's just really choppy. Again, that's my computer. Hopefully yours is a little bit better than mine. But that is it for the shrink. The shrink is actually pretty straightforward. It's just all the other stuff like the speed control and the meta strips, and then getting your timing right, and then also adding the picture. All of that, kind of takes some time and getting used to. Another thing you can notice is that the meta strip here is hidden, but you can still see it. And that's because of this transform. What you're seeing is the transform version of this. So if I right click and scrub here, or however you scrub with yours, right click or left click, you can see each one of these individually. So the transform is the one that we have with the animation. and then this is not. So if you can hide this or unhide this, it doesn't matter, but I hide it so it's not going to calculate that. I think that will help with your speeds, and again, it's just Blender doesn't have to do more information or redundant information. Okay, so last thing, let's add our picture, and basically right after, let's see, where do I want to add this in? Well, actually, first, the way I did this is Google Slides, and basically I just chose a frame that I liked here. It wasn't this one, but let's see, I think it was down here, just where those, yeah, something like this. And then I hit render, make sure that's 100%, and I hit render, and then we go over to our rendering, and then I did, if you don't see this here, just go here and choose render result. So then I did image and then save as image. The one I saved earlier wasn't this particular frame, but it's going to work anyway. And then what I did is let's go to Google Slides, and you can see I've added it in here as a background. So I can't select it. It's not a picture. It's just a background. So if you just choose background and then image, you can choose that image. And then here is just stuff that I made using the Google Slides little tools here. So I just added text and then arrows and things like that. And then I duplicated it down here and chose background and then transparent background. So that then we have our text as a transparent background. Make sure that slide is selected, file, download as PNG. And make sure it's PNG. If you do JPEG, it's going to have a white background because JPEG doesn't have the alpha or the transparency. Okay, so back in Blender, basically what we're going to do is just Shift A to add in our image. Well, let's see, where do I want that image to come in? Let's see.
Like this, in case you.
So basically right after I say like this. So let's do this. Shift A, image. Okay, and import it there. Blend mode to overdrop, and voila, it doesn't match. That's because I think I had different settings before. So basically, if I wanted to use this like it is, which, yeah, I kind of like that, I suppose. Well, no, you know what? Actually, let's just adjust it. So let's just scale this down just a little bit more. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, I have to go to our keyframes, because if I do it without making a keyframe, it's just going to reset. So let's just pull that out here, and then come back to here, scale that down just a tad. And if you scale this and it's going too fast, you can hit Shift as you're scaling, and then it slows things down a little bit, so it's a little bit more precise. And there we go. Maybe move this up on, oh, I don't want to move it up at all. Never mind, 22 is good. Let's move this, yeah, there we go, like that. Okay, so it's 30.39, so I'm just gonna do 0.4, see if that's okay. Yes, so 0.4 works just fine for that. And where do we want it to come in? Let's see.
This, in case you want.
Oh, you know what? Ah, refresh sequencer. Ah, I just did exactly what I told you not to do. So let's select this, go back to our keyframes here. This was 0.4 I to make a keyframe, and then that stayed the same. So, okay, now we can move it.
Like this, in case you want to show two things at once.
Okay, now I don't really know
In case you want to show two things at once.
the timing because it's so choppy, but I'll show you an alternative way that you can line things up here in a minute.
This, in case you want to show two things at once.
Yeah, so there you go. And then when do we want to end?
You just want to go all out and stretch.
Okay.
Once. Or
okay, so
after
you just want to go after I say two things at once. Actually, right before I say or, we'll stop it there. Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to drag these here and this one, and then nope, Shift S to snap, and there we go. All right, so basically that is how it's done. Now, if you have a slow computer like me and you want to get the timing just right, and this is a little too laggy for you, what you can do instead, and you might want to do this anyway, so that Blender doesn't have to do a whole bunch of crunching or calculations. I'm just going to hide these, and then I'm going to select these two, unhide those, Shift H to hide everything else. So now we just have our video file with our speed control and our audio. And I'm going to select the audio, make sure that's at 1 again, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to render this out using Blender first, and then we can import that file in, and then we don't have to do any sort of adjustments as far as speed. So page down, make sure our timeline cursor is there, come down to our timeline, hit hit S to start it there, and then over here, page down, make sure it's right there, hit E to end, and then hit home down here and scroll out. So now we have only our meta strip and our audio that are going to be rendered, and of course I would rename this over here like I did. You can see here is I have a test 0816 coaster cut. So this one will be 90. I'm going to say 905 because I'm going to save this, but I'm going to save it as an iteration to 905 and make sure all this video stuff looks good and 100%. And then I'm going to hit animation. Okay, and so if I look up here, it's going to take a couple minutes to do. So after it's finished, I will come back and then we'll import that video file into our scene and work with that. Boop. All right, it has finished rendering. So Shift left arrow and then Shift A, add in a movie, and it should be down here, 905. There we go. So grab that and move that up. Adjust these like I usually have them. All right, and then we want to hide those. Okay, so now we have, oh, that's so much more smooth. See, that's so much more smooth than what we had before. So if I take this, unhide that, and then hide that one, you can see how choppy that is. Oh my goodness. So yeah, might be something if you don't have, a video file that's terribly large, this might be something that you want to do. But of course, now we've got that rendered out. Let's say you've already built this and you're thinking, man, this is way too slow. I want to kind of optimize things, but now I have to do the animation all over again. Well, actually, you don't. And I just figured this out. It's so awesome. If I take this transform and I duplicate that, Shift D and hit Y to go up, now you can see the input here is still our meta strip, which is down here. So both of these are still affecting this strip. But if I select our new video footage and then Shift select our transform and then go to strip, and make sure the transform is the active one. So make sure you select this one first and then the transform. Go to strip and then where did it go here? Reassign inputs. So if I hit that or just the shortcut is R, you have boom. Now this has the input of our new video footage. And if I unhide this, and of course we got to hide our meta strip now too. And of course this transform is overdrop, but our blend mode here for our footage is cross, so we have to make that overdrop. Either make this overdrop or you can just hide the footage. So if I hide the footage, nope. If I hide the footage, that doesn't do anything. But I'm still going to hide the footage, and then I'm going to go over here to overdrop. Oh, the reason it's not doing anything is because everything else is hidden. Okay, Justin. Yeah, sometimes it's just like this, you know. So what I'm going to do is select everything, unhide everything, and then come back here and hide all the things that I want to hide. Hide those. And now we can see. I'm actually curious. Let's just do this here. Let's see if I keep that on replace or cross, whatever. I think it was on cross. But if I hide it, oh yeah, I guess that doesn't matter because. So yeah, just at least make sure that our transform is on overdrop. I'm gonna make sure both of them are just in case. Refresh sequencer. And you might want to be saving this, by the way, as you're going along. Save as iteration. And now we can see our animation playing here. And of course, this is way too loud again. We're going to put that down 0.03.
And then shrink it down into a picture-in-picture like this, in case you.
So much better. And see, now this is below our footage here, but that's because it's overdrop. It still shows like that. But I'm going to just bring that up here so that we have that like that. Let's refresh the sequencer there. Perfect.
Like this, in case you.
All right. And so then what I would do is I'll just leave this just like this and delete these here. And select all of these. Well, let's just make sure everything is deselected. Select all of these. Nope. Grab on the Y. Down just like that. Alrighty. So that is how you can shrink your footage and also how you can recode your frames per second using a speed control and render out a new video for optimization. All right, so I hope all that made sense. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Otherwise, you'll see me in the next one.